This was a night I swore I wouldn't relive again, but I figured it would alert others in the future and help them before things get just as bad. I live in the US. I won't say where, but I am here. I'm not from here though. I'm actually from Spain. I came to the US to really help me grow my ambitions and make something of myself. I have lived in rough neighborhoods before, and am accustomed to some sort of negativity. But this was something on another level. I had been in the US for over 2 years. I actually lived in quite a decent neighborhood too. I got my first home and was over the moon. I even made a point of greeting myself to my neighbors and introduced myself as Aya. It's a shorter version of my name, but easier to say. For a few nights, things went good. For a few weeks after that, it went brilliantly. Work was nice. The people were friendly. I think I let my guard down too much because on August 29th, I came home to darkness. Nothing spooky about that. I switched the hallway light on, dropped my keys into the bowl by the door, and went about things as usual. On this night though, I was tired and very lazy. I crashed on the sofa, put the television on, and found myself being quite sleepy. I heard a knock at the door. Now, I forgot to mention that I was supposed to have a roommate come to stay with me. I know this person. It is not a complete stranger, but they were due to arrive. I grunted, of course, sitting up and heading to the door. But nobody was outside. I shut the door, sat back down, chucked a blanket over me in frustration, and then the door knocked again. I was a little annoyed now because I had just answered the door. But once more, nobody was outside. Weirdly, I saw my neighbour opposite me waving her arms. Being very tired and knowing she was a very polite person, I thought she was waving to me. So I waved back with a smile, of course, and closed the door. It was time for bed. Whoever was prank calling me can carry on, but I was sleepy. I locked the front door, switched off all the appliances, and headed off to bed. Things were normal. That was until around 3 AM when I heard a glass break downstairs. It woke me pretty instantly, and I was surprised how alert I became so quickly. I grabbed hold of my phone and was about to dial for the police when I wondered if it was just me overthinking things. I stood quiet, opened my door very slowly, thanking myself for greasing the hinges so they didn't squeak, and then stepped out onto the hallway. I listened intently. Even peeked over the banister once to see if I could see anything. All I could hear though was someone walking around, heavy-footed but cautious. I heard drawers open, things being moved around before I peeked back over the banister again. This is where I saw someone walk right on by, straight into the other side of my house. This was the actual side I knew I kept a lot of my prized belongings. Hidden, but definitely not hidden well. I stepped down the stairs, and as I got towards the bottom, I peeked round the corner and saw this dark shadow looming in the corner. I had no idea if they were looking at me or had they looked back to me. But I dialed for the police, and my ring must have been loud because as soon as dialed, this person stood up straight and turned. Panic shook me to my core as I lunged for the door and unlocked it. I ran out to the street, screaming for help when the same woman from earlier came running to my aid. The police turned up moments later and chased after the intruder. The woman had called for the police when she witnessed a man circling in my home. A description wasn't needed, as they caught him a few streets away. I am very alert now about what is happening around me. I am sure it was a one-time thing. I needed counseling afterwards, but I would not let his fear rule me. I'm going to tell this story, hopefully short, because I am awful at telling them, but feel like it should be told either way. I figure most people thrive off having the house to themselves, and being 18, I would somewhat agree. Either way, I was doing what I wanted, so I felt neutral to the outcome of whether the house was empty or not. Now I'm going to cut the boring stuff out. You know, the fact I played games most of the night and done nothing but eat food. The night was literally just that. Around 11 in the night, I locked up the house and headed off to bed. I knew my parents had a key and they would be back pretty soon, so I was feeling good. What was abundant though was the floodlight in the backyard. It drove me insane many times because of cats that would walk on by. But me being nosy, I would go and take a look. I couldn't see anything except the barbecue grill, the lawn, and a small swimming pool. It was summer and it was a pretty stuffy night, so I jumped onto my bed and closed my eyes. For the next hour, the floodlight came on a dozen times. It truly was disturbing my sleep. I was almost on the verge of getting up to switch it off when I heard a splash. Someone was in my pool. Nah, they wouldn't dare, I thought to myself. I was a little scared now, but still wanted to go and see. I crept to the side of the window and peeked on out, but I couldn't see anyone in there. What I did see though was their wet patch and feet prints heading towards the house. Then a knock came to the back door. I knew it was a knock at the back door because my room was above it. I played it cool, ignoring it. Just played it off like I was fast asleep. The floodlight came back on and I peeked back outside again, only to see a man standing still, looking up to my room, as if they knew I was there. I called my parents and told them what was happening, and with my dad frantic on the phone, saying they had just round the corner and they wouldn't be long. Being young and overly confident, I confronted this person, asking what the hell they were doing, and that I called the police. He just smiled before quickly charging to my back door. I could hear him pounding at it, trying to break it in, as I now literally called for the police. The back door smashes open, and I hear footsteps running up to my room, with them laughing in hysterics. I jumped out of my window onto the small section of the roof, and darted around to the front of the house, where I saw my parents turn up. I jumped on down and told them there is a crazy man in the house. He was in my room, and that he sounded mental. My dad grabbed hold of his gun and charged inside. I don't know what happened. When the police turned up, I saw my dad being walked out, not in cuffs, but then saw this crazed man walk out behind him, in cuffs, and he looked bloody. Turns out my dad had done some damage. I hate to imagine what would have happened if I was completely alone for the weekend, or something else, but I am thankful for the luck I received that night.